Why did you guys make me watch this show? You're lucky I love you, because this was torture. Most of us know the controversy that surrounds the 100. There have been many tweets, Tumblr posts, scholarly essays about the Clexa relationship, how it played out, and how it affected its audience. Because this is my first time watching it, and the aftermath is over, I figured we could take a look at this whole situation objectively, and answer two questions. Is this the Bury Your Gays trope? And was the audience reaction to the situation warranted? Was this a betrayal by the network and studio alike? There will be spoilers for both The 100 and Doctor Who Season 10. You'll see when we get there. So here is Clexa and the 100 reasons why this show was problematic. To answer either of those proposed questions, we have to take a look at the substance and mechanisms of Clark and Lexa's relationship arc. During the first half of Season 2, the Ark people and Grounders have been at war, but they come to find a common enemy when the people of Mount Weather are turning human beings into literal nightmare fuel. Being the ipso facto leaders of the Ark and Grounders, Clark came to Lexa for a truce and to work together to get their people out of Murder Mountain. In return for this truce, Lexa wanted Finn, who murdered a ton of her people. From the beginning, we see Lexa giving up the ways of her people to appease Clark's wants and needs. Her people live by the oath, blood for blood, and after baby Scarface literally mowed down 18 of the Grounders, most of whom were innocent elderly and children, Lexa and her people wanted him dead. Just him, which is fair in this society.
Kill 18. He will suffer the pain of 18 deaths. Then we can have peace.
I mean, it probably would have sucked for him, but hey, he's a child murderer, so whatever. Clark went to Lexa before his death and asked if she could say goodbye, and she allowed it, an unprecedented move on Lexa's part. And when Clark said goodbye, she stabbed Finn in the heart so he would avoid suffering, taking away the Grounders' ritual. But yet again, Lexa allowed it. So the alliance between the Ark people and the Grounders was formed, which is something that needed to happen, but it's something that Lexa's people did not want. And when they confronted her about it,
the Sky People march with us now. Anyone who tries to stop that will pay with their life.
she then brought in Clark to lay Finn to rest, which again is something unprecedented. It seemed like an attempt to bring in the Sky People and show that this alliance was happening, which is a good idea, but she was doing too much too fast. Change is hard for everyone, and when it isn't gradual, it can cause upset. And in a very unstable environment, it can cause destruction, which is why one of her advisors faked a poisoning, hoping to drive a wedge back between the two groups so the alliance would cease to exist. But instead of letting him go for his betrayal, like she did for the Ark people many times in the past 8 hours, she kills him in front of everybody. That's not good optics. She needs a new PR manager. Lexa is a strong female character and she has the right ideas for the future of her people, but she's not the best leader. At every decision from her people's point of view, it looked like she was leaving them and leaving their ways without good reason. And her people's ideals are weak. Blood for blood, killing when stepping out of line, seeing anything other than their ways as a weakness that should be snuffed out, makes for that unstable environment. When her advisor was asked why he faked the poisoning, he said,
"This alliance would cost you your life, Hedda. And I could not let that happen."
And Lexa's fate was sealed right then and there. A few more times we'll hear from different characters that her actions will be the end of her. The closer she gets to Clark, the closer she is to her own death. Which is some decent storytelling if they planned it out from the start and could execute it properly. The alliance stays in place, and from here on we see the women interacting in different situations, working together with their differing ideologies. I never can say this word. They get stuck in the forest together and have to fight a giant gorilla. Mount Weather launches a missile straight towards them, so together they have to decide whether to warn their people and ruin their chance of getting those captured in the mountain out, or flee and live to fight another day. All this is great. We need these character interactions so relationships can grow, but the problem with Clexa is that it doesn't. A lot of the time they don't really seem like they want to be around each other, and I know that comes from them being on different sides of this war, but there aren't even really glimpses of them seeing the good in each other.
You want to know why I saved you? Because I need you. God forbid one of your generals becomes commander.
It wasn't really confirmed that they cared for one another until Lexa tacked it onto an argument they were having over whether or not to kill Octavia because she knew they had let their people die when the missile struck.
250 people died in that village. I know you felt for them, but you let them burn.
Not everyone. Not you.
And then within minutes, if the audience wasn't told beforehand that these two were going to enter a relationship, from the audience perspective, they didn't like each other, then they cared for each other, then they made out in a matter of minutes. It's as if they have all the plot points of a good relationship, but they're jam-packing it into these very few episodes. After the kiss, Clark says she's really not ready for a relationship because Ghost of Murderer's Past is kinda still on her mind. Finally, we come to the big rescue. They come up to the mountain door, showing a very intimidating united front, and Lexa betrays her. She took her people and just straight up ghosted, leaving the Ark people behind. This causes Clark to kill everyone in the mountain, none of whom were actually innocent, well, except the children. Ugh. And it takes a tremendous toll on Clark's psyche, so much so that she decides to leave her people and live in the wilderness. Venturing into season 3, she and her god-awful wig are now the Winhelda, or Commander of Death in the eyes of the Grounders. And it's said if you kill the Winhelda, you, I don't know, get a cookie or something. Suffice it to say that being hunted kinda sucks for Clark. But hey, she's boning forest chicks, so that's fun. Yet again, they are on the verge of being at war with new Grounders. These that look exactly like the others, but I guess kinda just rub their face in cocaine or something. One captures Raggedy Ann and takes her to Lexa so that she can lift his banishment. Lexa is happy to see Clark is alive, but Clark spits in her face, cementing that Lexa is a stronger person than I because...
Bitch, I hope the fuck you do! You'll be a dead son of a bitch, I tell you that!
It's reasonable that Clark is upset. She was betrayed. Lexa tries to explain her reasoning, but Clark doesn't want to hear it.
You don't give a damn about my people. I know why you're here. I made you look weak at Mount Weather, and now the Ice Nation is exploiting that. Well, if you want the power of Winheta, kill me. Take it. Otherwise, go float yourself because I never...
What? What did she say?
Otherwise, go float yourself.
How did she say that with a straight face? Sorry. But like everything with their relationship, in a matter of minutes, she's back to mending fences between her people and Lexa's. Lexa continues to do things against her people's wants, pissing them off. Rinse and repeat. But this time, the two genuinely do get closer. They're not in each other's presence because they have to be anymore. They're there because they want to be. And even though they're on opposing sides of this totally necessary war, you can actually tell they're starting to love each other. They just love their people more. And it's a nice build-up to them finally consummating their feelings for one another. Finally, everything feels right with the pacing of this story. And then... oh man, that was some bullshit. I went over the Bury Your Gays trope as a segment in my very first video, but I really wanted to dive into why the effects are so destructive here. To recount, the Bury Your Gays trope is a disproportionate number of LGBT characters being killed off, often in the name of propping up and advancing heterosexual leading character storylines, or they're killed because of their gayness in some way, reinforcing that LGBT people aren't supposed to have happy endings, and our unhappiness is a direct result of who we are. Yes, straight people get killed randomly in media as well, but it's the disproportionate part of that definition that we need to look at. According to the GLAAD Where We Are on TV report for 2017-2018, out of the 959 regular characters on broadcast television, there were 901 straight characters and only 58 LGBT characters. Even if 12% die, which is a small percentage, that's a large chunk of our characters gone because we don't have many to choose from in the first place. This is not to say that gay characters can never be killed. Though we are #blessed, we are not immortal and our characters shouldn't be either. Just look at Doctor Who Season 10. Bill Potts, a lesbian character, was dead by the season finale. But she had a fulfilling arc, she was a well-rounded character, and she got a goddamn happy ending. Clexa, on the other hand, is a classic, if not our generation's defining example of the Bury Your Gays trope and how it can negatively affect your audience. Literally minutes after their sexual encounter, Lexa was dead. It wasn't in battle, it wasn't in sacrifice to save someone she loved, it was just random. It was just a clusterfuck. And I am flabbergasted at how incompetently the writers and crew handled this. Just from a storytelling standpoint, like I said, it had the plot points of a good story, but just because you check the boxes of a good story doesn't mean it is one. It's about execution. It's about the pacing. Their story and relationship was hella rushed, with each turning point almost overlapping the next. Everything is so fast that it gives the audience whiplash. Yes, the actress was leaving the show and getting a better role on Fear the Walking Dead, so Lexa's death was inevitable. But when the writers knew that, they should have adjusted their story and marketing on it, but they didn't, and they suffered the consequences for it. The essay titled The 100 and the Social Contract of Social TV frames the relationship between media and its audience as an unspoken agreement or contract. Fans willingly vote in polls, share fan art, and basically participate in free marketing of these different shows and movies. But it comes with responsibilities on the part of the writers, studios, and network, which they meet with content designed to appeal to those viewers. In the case of The 100, not only providing show content, but also by engaging with fans on social media, they gave them extra content as well that was especially designed for Clexa fans. But the writers and crew of The 100 broke this contract in two big ways. One, the pacing of their story ending in Lexa's death fell right into the Bury Your Gays trope, reinforcing horrible stereotypes for LGBT people. Not just people, but their target audience is preteens and teenagers, the people most susceptible to being affected by media. And on top of that, their marketing targeted LGBT adolescents, a lot of whom struggle with their identity and as a result their self-worth. LGBT adolescents are the highest among suicide rates.
Why do you think this crisis affects so many gay, lesbian, transgendered youth?
Well, as our foundation, my husband and I did start a foundation after Tyler had died because of all the great conversation that was started. And one of the things that we found is that gay youth are also more likely to be bullied. And of course, not all bullying situations end in the terrible circumstances that Tyler's did, but they still suffer great consequences. Much of the same mental health issues that lead to suicide are what many of the gay youth that are being bullied do.
The CDC found that 40% of LGBT students reported seriously considering suicide, compared to almost 15% of heterosexual adolescents. Almost a quarter of the LGBT students said they attempted suicide during that time, compared to the 6% of heterosexual teens. If LGBT people and kids get negative responses from school, from the government, sometimes from inside our own homes, and from the media, it sends the signal that we shouldn't exist. That is why it's important to pay attention to the images we put out there. We take in what we see, whether consciously or subconsciously, and internalize those messages. And there are ramifications to that. It's hard to see that you can have a happy ending when the Bury Your Gays trope tells us over and over and over again that our sexuality is the cause of our unhappiness. The essay states in the case of the Clexa relationship, there are specific responsibilities in engaging with marginalized audiences that were either ignored or more likely, given the lack of preparedness for the negative response to the episode, invisible to the show writers. And this seems to be a big problem with how Hollywood handles media depicting marginalized groups. We're most likely not present during the process of making the content that depicts our communities. If there had been an LGBT person or two on staff at the 100, they probably would have pointed out that this trope was occurring and the story would have been told differently. Not only that, but the people making the content don't seem to do simple research, believing that their intentions of inclusion are enough, when usually they're not. 13, the episode that features Lexa's death, was written by Javier Guillermo Marçois, who states,
I think it was a failure to recognize the cultural impact that this would have outside of the context of the show.
And that's not an excuse. It was literally a Google search away. The crew of the 100 also broke the contract by seemingly unspokenly promising their fans something they were never going to have. The writers engaged with the LGBT audience, showing off their inclusion. The writers and network knew their LGBT representation would come to an abrupt end, and yet they continued to tell people to watch, hinting that there could be more to come with Lexa and Clark's romance. They were not wrong. Clark and Lexa's relationship had an impact on the entire third season. We do see the two women throughout. It just didn't play out in the way that they hinted at during their marketing. No writer will ever tell you that they're killing off their characters. So with the writers of the 100, they were really just doing their job. They just did it really, really poorly. Now let's go back to that original second question. Was this an actual betrayal, and was the audience reaction warranted? I think they may have overused social media, seeing how it was working, and people were really hyped for their show. So they overplayed the amount of representation that they had. And they tried to be inclusive, but didn't take the correct steps in doing so. They were misguided, but didn't set out to harm people for their own gain. But even though this wasn't an actual betrayal, they still hurt their audience, and they did so by using harmful stereotypes, and they ripped representation away from LGBT kids. And because of that, the hurt was real and the backlash was totally warranted. Even though Clexa still has impact on the story in season 5, where her decisions continue to be a driving force for the characters, it's still not enough to make up for the wrong that was done. But this show seems like it'll go on for the foreseeable future. Clark is still bisexual, and they have time to make it right. But they just need to remember, do research, get us involved, because if we're not, you'll rarely get our stories right, and then you'll end up with one hell of a clusterfuck. Wow, this show was really awful to watch. Thank you to everyone who voted for this video. I really like you guys participating in the channel, so I think I'll do more polls. Please follow me on Twitter and Tumblr so you can participate in those. And you can follow for any updates that are going on with this channel and with what videos are coming out and when. I announced in August that I wasn't posting a video, and that's because I recently got a job at Nickelodeon, which I'm really excited about, but it kind of also takes up a lot of my time now. So I'm really going to try my best to stick with our one video a month schedule, but if I don't, you kind of know why. But because of that, I really wanted to open it up to you guys. If you are interested in making a video for this channel, it could be one and done or it could be multiples, I'm really open to it. I would love it to grow and for us to explore as much LGBT media as humanly possible. So if you're interested, please go ahead and email me. I also wanted to say thank you so much to those who have been posting to our website. Our gay library is growing so fast, and I appreciate you guys adding to it. If you want to add any piece of LGBT media, whether it has one character or many, it's allowed on the site, so go for it. To honor reaching 3,000 subscribers, thank you guys so much for supporting this channel. You don't know how much I love doing this and how much I appreciate it. And to celebrate, I've chosen 3 winners. Ballistic, Ashley Borders, and Julia Disney are winners of our Steven Universe giveaway and will receive your choice of an SU keychain along with the $10 Visa gift card. Email me at PrideBrary@gmail.com so we can get those over to you. And a new round of the giveaway is starting now. I'll be giving away a Clexa pop figure, and all you have to do to enter is to be a subscriber and to comment on this video below. And I'll announce the winner on my next video, so hit that bell so you don't miss out on that. So with that, I'm Jess. See you later.